So glad you are with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansen, Casey Elkins, Mark Stimson, Elevated Financial Management, and it feels great to be hanging with you dudes.
Nice to be back.
It is nice to be back. Thanks for letting me hang with you guys.
It's a little different having the three of us
Are
here.
you okay seated in this spot?
I'm still getting used to it, to tell you the truth. Yeah.
All right, then let's get used to it. Look, folks, we're so glad that you're here. And for a lot of you, you've made this appointment TV, so you're going, who the heck is this guy? This guy is here to try and help educate, because really that's the first goal, is we're trying to figure out how to do this thing that nobody told us how to do, that retirement thing. Let's see if we can help you on your way. And I'm glad to be a part of it, because you guys have this ball rolling. And I want to go on something that everybody really, really loves to talk about, and that is taxes. Oh, it's our favorite topic. We can't wait to pay more taxes. Here's what we want to do. This is probably your greatest hurdle going into retirement. And yet there are a lot of advisors out there who refuse to talk about this. Yep. And I want to bring that up. Why are we talking about something that so many advisors don't talk about?
Well, I think that's the big thing, right? When it comes to taxes, we're always talking about a retirement plan, right? That's really the crux of what we do.
We got to have a plan.
Yeah, day in and day out, we talk about a retirement plan. And here's why we want to talk about taxes today. If you don't have a plan that accounts for taxes, do you really have a plan? That's the question. And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. And so if you're planning your retirement, knowing that some of that money is going to be taken out and paid to Uncle Sam, and you haven't put together what that looks like or how you can lessen it or what's the most effective way to create the income to lessen the taxes, you really don't have a solid plan.
Mark, I go back to this spot, and I remember growing up having the spot of people walking around with holding the number on their head. This is my number. And the thing is that for a lot of advisors, they're saying, hey, this is your number. Our number is not our number because we got a partner that we don't even like in our retirement.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is really important for our viewers today. And that's why I appreciate Casey, being with Casey and Brad here, because taxes are something that most of the big box store firms will not touch.
Why?
In fact, this is interesting. We talk about this in our office all the time. We'll have clients come in and we'll say, have you been getting any tax help or tax counseling from, your planner right now, or those that are helping you on the accumulation side? And their answer is always no, because they're always told that they've got to go talk to their CPA or their tax preparer, right? And I'm with Casey. If you don't have a tax plan, then you don't have a plan, because taxes and inflation are going to be the two biggest eroders of our money. And you better have that addressed in your plan. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a tough road to hoe.
We came to you at the end of 2025 and said, hey, man, time's running out. At the end of 2025, Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, it's going away. You have got to jump on this right now. Okay, we got a little bit of a window. As a matter of fact, the window was told to us that this is permanent. Now taxes are going to be here at this level, and it's going to be permanent. Remember, it's the government until it's not. So if we have this tax code right now, tell me why and nobody feels good about taxes, and yet we're supposed to be telling people we're in an advantageous time for taxes right now. Why?
Well, in reality, when you look back at previous tax rates or tax brackets, they've been much higher. They're historically low right now, and we know that we could depend on those, as you said, for the foreseeable future, but legislation can always change. And so that runway to have a positive impact on what our taxes look like in retirement, that runway is getting smaller and smaller. If you look at the debt of the country, it's growing tremendously every single day.
Yeah.
If you want to be freaked out, if you go to usdebtclock.org, that'll really put it all into perspective. We're talking about massive, massive quantities of money that are being spent. That has to be accounted for. And so what's the easiest way for them to do that? It's with tax dollars. And the reality is we all have a partner inside of our retirement accounts, a silent partner, and that silent partner makes all the rules. His name is Uncle Sam, and he's coming for his tax money.
Well, Uncle Sam's $38 trillion in debt, and as you say, the clock is continuing to tick. So should we assume, crystal ball's broken for me. It's not working very well, but my assumption is at $38 trillion and them having to go to something taxes are going up, which is why we play, Mark, with the rules that we have now?
Yeah, and it's funny you mention this, Brad, because there's two old sayings that we're all very familiar with: death and taxes, right? Those two are never going to go away. And I'm sorry, I'm with Casey. The debt of this country right now is as high as it's ever been, and it's growing. Just now, the debt on U.S. bonds is pushing $1 trillion a year. And where's that going to come from? The piper's going to have to be paid here, and somebody's going to come to collect. And it's going to come, we know it's going to come a lot of times out of our qualified plans. That's why we have required minimum distributions set. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But again, you better have a plan for this, because Uncle Sam's not going away. He's going to be your permanent partner until he's paid off.
Mark just said you are qualified. What are you qualified for? To pay more taxes. Here's what I want to put up for you. Taxbillsseattle.com. If you scan the QR code, and I apologize, you can't unsee this number once you see it. But if you scan this code, here's what these guys have put together for you. It is a tax calculator, user-friendly. We want this to be simple. So in just a couple of minutes, you put in your qualified number. What have I yet to pay taxes on? And this will yield for you what Uncle Sam wants for you now. A little bit later, when the RMDs come, we'll get into that. And what you have to pay once you move it down to your next generation. On the other side, it's much more pleasant, which is the strategies that we can now use at Elevated Financial Management to try and figure out how to keep more money in your pocket. Scan the QR code while we talk about this. So this qualified. Here's what we've been told to do, guys. Saving your 401k. I've been doing what I've been told, and what you're telling me now is I'm building on my tax bill by doing what I've been told to do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in reality, we've put these assets in, and they're tax-deferred assets, so that means that we've never paid taxes on them, which is a good thing when we're growing and accumulating those assets. The problem is when we have to start taking them out, because we didn't pay taxes on the original investment, and that original investment has grown, and so now we have this bigger bucket of money that has to be taxed. And it's coming for each and every one of us, whether we want to take the money out or not. It's called a required minimum distribution, and it's a required amount that we have to take so that those taxes can be paid.
Mark can't wait to add
I
to this. Can't wait to add to this.
This is something, Casey does a really good illustration right now, and I think this is a perfect time to bring up the mortgage in the house. And this is perfect.
You know, I appreciate that, Mark. So, you know, when you think about your mortgage, right, let's say, and we know with interest rates right now, it's not the best time to go house shopping, but let's say that you found this perfect home. It's exactly what you're looking for. It's perfect for your family. And so you take all your financials and you go to the bank and you ask for a loan. And the bank says, hey, no problem, we'll give you the loan. We're happy to do it. Just one thing, though, we're not sure what the interest rate's going to be. So at the end of 30 years, we'll let you know, and then you can pay it all to us at that point. You would never do that, right? You'd be crazy to do that.
Who would
and
do
if
that?
your friend came to you and said they were thinking about doing it, you'd tell them that they were crazy.
Yeah.
But in that same line of thought, that's the case with our 401ks, with our IRAs. We know what the taxes are when we contributed the money, but we don't know what it's going to be when we take that money out. And so that runway to have positive impact, to have real change on what those taxes look like for your retirement is getting smaller and smaller, and we have to take advantage.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about 401k, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. How do we move past this? I've got to take a quick break. And while we're here, I want you to scan the QR code, taxbillsseattle.com. This is a tax calculator. Look, I think it was Judge Learned Hand, and I'll butcher the paraphrase of his quote, but he says there are two tax laws, one for the educated and one for the uneducated, and both are legal. You get a chance to be educated here to understand what the tax laws are, what it's going to cost you, and how you can strategize to get out of that. If you're not taking advantage, why? And once you see this number, you're going to want to make a call to 844-342-7142 so that you can elevate your wealth. The idea is to keep more money in your pocket. And if taxes are inevitable, don't you want to pay as little as possible? Don't you want to pay with the rules the way they are right now? Call. Let's put together a complimentary financial plan that will include a tax plan for you. You want to know what to do with your 401k? we'll talk about that when we return.
We want to make sure that our employees feel great about working there. We have a wonderful Maggie up front. People love her. She is so good with clients, both when they come in and also when she's on the phone with them.
We've got Kelvin. Kelvin is a CPA, a paraplanner, really sharp guy, and just friendly. Everybody loves him. If you don't like Kelvin, it makes me question whether or not you're a good judge of character, right?
We're building a wonderful thing here, and that's our goal, is to really build a firm that can sustain itself even if Casey aren't there on a day-to-day basis, and that's really what our goal is. And it's been wonderful. Everybody loves working there. We love each other. We treat each other with love and respect, but we do have a lot of fun.
Did you ever think your own retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your 401k, IRA, pension, or similar retirement accounts are in partnership with Uncle Sam. Simply put, they want their tax dollars and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can plug in your own numbers. To see what your tax liability to Uncle Sam will be, scan the QR code on screen or go to taxbillseattle.com.
So glad you're with us on Elevate Your Wealth. Brad Johansen with Casey and Mark, and we're kind of talking something that you don't want to talk about, and that's why we avoid it, but it is taxes. It is going to be the greatest hurdle for a lot of us in retirement. So how do we get over that hurdle and do it the best way that we can? I put this up in the last segment. I want to bring it back up for you as well, taxbillseattle.com. Why do I need this? Scan the QR code to be able to find out what your qualified money is. Your qualified money means that you're going to pay Uncle Sam now, later, and depending on how you strategize for it, you can keep more money in your pocket. Maybe the sooner the better. Scan the code. I apologize again. The number that you will see is ridiculous and yet real. So you probably want to do something about it because you're following the rules. Guys, what we've been told is, look, 78, everything changed. I want my grandpa's retirement. Grandpa had a pension.
Yep.
Everybody had the pension. The company paid for everything. I got the cake, I got the watch, I got the party, and then I got mailbox money. 2 weeks later, we were all good. So they said, you know what, this whole thing's not working anymore. So we changed to the 401k. Now you guys take care of your own retirement. I did it the way you told me to do. Should I continue to do that? Look, this is a long time ago, 78, when we started all of this whole thing. And yet I put this money away and now I got a tax problem. Do I keep contributing to my 401k while I'm working?
Yeah, this is something I want our viewers to really pay attention to, because a lot of companies offer a Roth 401k, but we can't tell you how many times we've been told, well, I didn't even know that. So they've been contributing to their standard 401k, traditional, right? And didn't know that that was an option. I would tell you, if you have a young son or a daughter, or even you've got several years left, contribute to your Roth. We believe in the long run, free money is free money, right? Which you're going to get with a traditional or a Roth. But how wonderful is it to have tax-free on the back end, right? Versus, as we've been talking about, every dime coming out is taxable if you do the traditional. So we would tell you, if you have that option, you need to use any option that's available, especially if there's a match. But if you can do a Roth versus a traditional, for most people, not everyone, but most, we would say that Roth probably makes more sense.
It does.
This is a contribution, and then we move into Roth conversions once I'm past working time for me?
Yeah, generally for most people, they're going to do Roth conversions after they've stopped working. It doesn't mean that they have to, right? It doesn't mean you can't do a Roth conversion while you're still employed. That is potentially still an option for you, but we have to really figure out if that makes sense. Roth conversion is a buzzword or a buzz saying, and people get really excited about it. And it's a very valuable tool, but it isn't the right thing for every individual circumstance. the numbers have to be ran, and we have to be strategic when we start talking about a Roth conversion, because it can start to cause other issues too, where now we're in retirement because we did a Roth conversion. Now our IRMA is higher, which is an income-related monthly adjustment amount, which means that our Part B premium is going to be higher. So we have to account for these different things to make sure that we know what that collective picture looks like in retirement.
Here's the interesting thing that you talk about, because when that buzzword is thrown out, everybody says, well, Roth must be for me. Everybody's telling me how great this is. And what you're saying is this is individualized for everybody. And I think this becomes part of that domino effect, that if we're not paying attention to one, it creates a problem with another.
Yep.
So why does this become so individualized for everybody? And people are walking into offices. Look, for a lot of you, I know a lot of you already have advisors, right? But they've never talked to me about any of these things because they put me in the same thing as everybody else. Why is this different?
This couldn't be, I'm so glad we're talking about this. Casey, you mentioned the domino effect. We call it the ripple effect, like throwing a rock in a pond, right? Yeah. And the ripples start to go until they hit the beach, right? They're going to affect a lot of different things. And so if you really don't calculate, every client needs an individualized plan, right? We need to know all the information before we can give out what I believe a true fiduciary is supposed to do. We need to be giving them advice based on their specific situation. There is no cookie cutter plan. Casey and I talk about this all the time. Everybody's plan is unique to them. And if you don't do it on an individual basis, I think you're doing that client or clients a disservice, because it doesn't make sense for everyone. Yet in this world, and especially in the financial space, so many planners believe everybody should be doing it no matter what, and that's just not the way it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of planners that do what we call one size fits none, and that's the reality of it, right? Is that you're trying to take everybody and fit them into this box that really wasn't made for them. And it's the same as other analogies that we've used. You can do that, and you may still be successful in retirement, but is it the retirement that you wanted to have, right? Is it as successful or as stress-free really as it could have been? And that's really the question, right? Is it's optimization. How do we make it the best that we can? Yeah. We live in an area in Seattle where a lot of people, we got a lot of sharp folks that live in Seattle, right? We have a lot of people that have worked really hard and they've saved really hard, and they're on a good path when they come to see us, but it's not the best path. It's not the path for them. Right? And that's really the question, is how do we get you on the best path that you can be on, the one that's custom tailored just for you, so that we know you can have the retirement that you've worked so hard to have.
Brad mentioned this, and there is a tremendous difference between a Roth contribution and a Roth conversion, right? We know that a lot of us and we've got people at Boeing, between the wife and themselves, they make too much, right? So they're not able to contribute to a Roth, which is, in my book, it's a dirty shame, right? We don't understand that like I believe it should be. I think if you could contribute to a Roth, income limits, I don't believe should matter, but it does, right? So
but
we
the
got to play by
government
those
didn't
rules.
call you for advice on that rule?
Exactly, none. Yeah. And yet a conversion, we can convert as much as we want. But if you don't do that strategically, what if you bump yourself from a 22% bracket to a 37? Now, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
It is a problem, right?
And if I'm in this situation, some people are saying, well, my advisor told me I don't have to worry about this because I'm going to be making less money when I retire. Oh, you're already laughing at me.
Yeah, already laughing.
I'm going to be making less money when I retire, so I don't have to worry about this. Why is this a laughable event?
When you get into retirement, I guess my big question is do you plan on living less life in retirement? And the answer to that for most people is no. As a matter of fact, we see a lot of people move into retirement that need more income because there's two main things that change when you retire. You have less income and you have more time. Yep. Well, what do you do with that more time? Hopefully go and enjoy it. And oftentimes that takes assets to do it with. And so we have people that come in that are going to have more income in retirement than they did while they were working because they're out living more life. And so to think that we move into retirement and just take a 40 or 50% pay cut in our life, in our lifestyle, that's really not the reality of it.
How would you like to take a pay cut in retirement? No. No one's interested in that. And the idea is you want more. And that's the idea. It's your retirement, different than everyone else's, which is why we have this code. So what do we qualify for? Yes, more taxes. How do we figure out how to keep more money in our pocket? You scan the QR code, and then you say, I do not want to take a pay cut in retirement. So then I call the number, 844-342-7142. This is a piece of a puzzle that has a ripple effect that if you miss one part of the puzzle, it doesn't look very good, and you want it to last. 844-342-7142. Let's put together a complimentary financial plan that is yours and yours alone so that the dominoes work, the puzzle pieces fit. It's your retirement. Do it your way. Let's elevate your wealth. 844-342-7142. Back after this.
Are you ready to retire? A lot of people aren't sure, but when it comes to your future, I don't know isn't a great answer. That's why we created the Retirement Reality Check to help you get a clear picture of where you stand. It covers income, Social Security, taxes, health care, and more. In just a few minutes, you'll know how prepared you are and where you might need help. Scan the QR code or visit efmquiz.com to take the quiz today. Did you ever think your own retirement would be shared with our government? It's true. Your 401k, IRA, or similar retirement accounts are in partnership with Uncle Sam. Simply put, they want their tax dollars and you have them. With our latest tax calculator, you can see what your tax liability will be. Scan the QR code or go to taxbillseattle.com.
Your greatest asset is right now, your time. You got less time after this. So we're here to say, how can we help right now? The number is 844-342-7142, and we're talking about taxes. If you haven't scanned the code, okay, I'll put it back up there for you. taxbillseattle.com. Scan this code, find out where you are. Benefits and exclusions. How do we adjust on this as we move forward? We're kind of, people are in this time, you're either right around this tax time or this tax, we're not talking about tax prep. We're talking about tax planning. So
Yes.
Help me on that.
Yeah, that's really the key, right? Is that tax planning versus tax preparation. Tax preparation is recording history. That's really what it is, right? Tax planning is forethought. What can we do today to lessen our tax burden, not just this year, next year, for the next 10 years, the next 30 years of retirement? And that's the difference. And Mark, I know you've got an illustration,
Yeah.
right? The rear view mirror, I'll let you share it.
You know, I do like to bring this up because it's a perfect analogy that most CPA firms, you give them your numbers, and then what do? They prepare a return based on, like Casey said, in the past, the history. So they're looking through the rear view mirror. What we want to do as true income and retirement planners, we want to look through the windshield. We want to look forward. How can we help this client reduce taxes and tax mitigation in the future? The past is the past. We can't go back and fix that most of the time. Now, we might have to do an amended return if we make a mistake, but there's a tremendous difference between just the past. We want to help them with the future, and there's a lot to be said for that.
But see, this is what we've been trained for.
Yep.
Just let me get through this year.
Right.
I'll get to April 15th. I'll get this thing done. The government wants my money. I'm going to pay my taxes. Let me just do it. Mm-hmm. And what we've been talked into is what the government does is kick the can down the road, which is why we're $38 trillion in debt.
Exactly.
The situation is, how do we talk to people now? And here's where you are. For some reason, you've walked and you stopped here on this television screen and you go, holy cow, I've never heard this before. Maybe this is your moment to say, how do I start to get into that mode of, okay, maybe I've got 5 years ahead of me where this will give me a longer runway to try and figure out how I have more money, not 5 years from now, 30 years from now.
Yeah. It's the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret, right?
Amen.
And so many people are actively putting themselves in a situation to experience the pain of regret. If you want your future self to thank your today self, it takes planning to do that. It really, really does. And especially when it comes to taxes, so many folks are caught up in exactly what you said, Brad, about trying to lessen their tax bill for this year by a couple $1,000s or even a couple $100s. And you know what? That's great if you can. But is your future self going to look back on all the taxes that you're going to pay over the course of your retirement, which if you use taxbillseattle.com, you're going to see is a big number.
Big number.
A big number. And in that circumstance, you're going to have the pain of regret. So it takes time, it takes effort, it takes strategy and conversation to figure these things out. But that hard work is what is the pain of discipline, and that's what will pay off.
Well, this is what you do. So it takes the pain away because you now have experts helping you to do this. We don't have a whole lot of time, but I want people to understand when they come in, they scan this code, they make the call, and they say, I want an appointment. What's complimentary plan? You say a plan, and this is a piece of it in a shortened version. Give me an idea of them coming in, what putting together a plan looks like.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're asking this, Brad, because this is what we do in our office. A true plan, written plan for us will touch on what are they going to do when it comes to Medicare. Do they go Med Sup or Med Advantage? Taxes, what bracket are you in? Should you do a Roth conversion? Should you not? Social Security, when should I take my Social Security? What about my spouse taking a spousal benefit? What's the difference between that and a survivor benefit? What about legacy planning? How do I best move money to my children? What if all of my money's in a qualified plan? This and so much more is going to be addressed. So please, if you're listening, give us a call because we can help.
All right. We've had that out there, so the number is now up. I'm grateful for the time that you put in to say, you know what, I would like to learn something. If you want to do something, simply make the call. And for a lot of you say, you know what, I'm not sure. I haven't done enough. I'm not quite there. But how much is this going to cost me? It is complimentary to put together a plan for you. How much is it going to cost you for doing nothing? If your retirement's going to be 30 plus years and you're not sure you're going to have enough money to last to your last breath, when would you like to know? 844-342-7142. Thanks for spending time with us. We can't wait to see you in the office. Put together a plan for you. Take Uncle Sam out of your pocket. We'll see you right back here next time on Elevate Your Wealth.